Hey, this is Scott Snyder, and you're watching the Sci-Fi Center.
Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center, the place to be, where comic books and wrestling collide magically. Movies, TV shows, and pop culture we share. Get ready to rock, we're here to take you there. From superheroes to aliens in outer space, we've got the latest news and reviews in our embrace. Turn on your screen, let the neon lights glow. We'll take you back to the 80s. Let's rock and roll. Sci-Fi Center, where the legends come alive. Get ready to geek out, let your imagination fly. We're diving into the past with a touch of modern flair. Sci-Fi Center, the ultimate pop culture lair.
Happy Sunday and welcome to the Sunday night weekend wrap up, the very last Sunday night weekend wrap up of the month of June. Damn, it just seems like yesterday I was saying at the end of May, and now here we are, more than halfway to 2027. Another hot day in Vegas. That's fine. That's cool. Double digits felt like a little winter. I just got not too long ago, just got done watching AEW's Forbidden Door, and I have to let what I watched sink in. We'll go over that in a little bit, but it may have been the best pay-per-view of the year. The main event with Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland was one of the better matches I've seen in a few years. A lot of the matches that were on this card were predictable because of the story that they're building, but even knowing what was going to go down in some of these matches didn't stop the matches from being good. These matches were really good. There was one match in there that I could have done without, and that's the whole Mark Briscoe match or the cage match. But they were telling a story there, so that's fine. I'm going to tell you guys what I think. I know a lot of you are not wrestling fans, but it's one of my passions, so we talk about it. So do I want to bring this one up? Because I don't feel like, what? I'm not going to read the text, but hey, for those of you who are going to be in the Las Vegas area on July 13th and you would like to be some of the first people to see The Odyssey by Christopher Nolan, I will have you, we'll be taking care of you this coming, probably either this weekend or next. I don't know if we're going to do it in July 4th weekend, but hey, tonight's stream and all the streams up until then are brought to you by Universal Pictures. The Odyssey in theaters July 17, 2026. But like I have been saying, if you want to be one of the first people to sit and you're in the Southern Nevada area, use the social media, hook me up. Also, there might be t-shirts, shirts, and all kinds of stuff, we give away for free for that. So, but yeah, I will do a better job of sponsoring. Tonight's Sunday. I did not expect to. Tony Khan, I know you're not watching right now because you're on a media scrum. However, that pay-per-view didn't end until let me find out, because I watched the whole thing. That pay-per-view started at 4:00. If you consider the buy-in, and it ended at 9:42. I enjoyed the show, and I'm exhausted. I have been to several AEW shows where this has been right around the time, and I'm having a good time, and I'm tired. Tony, you got to cut some of these matches out. I understand you want to give people their money's worth. I appreciate that. But that cage match, you could have saved that for a Dynamite. That just wasn't, So, all right. So this is going to be a quick. This isn't going to be the most in-depth show. I've kept the Sunday night weekend wrap-ups the last few weeks just to the basic thumbnail that you see, and really quick wraparound of what we have already talked about. I don't think I need to do a thumbnail for it because pretty much we've covered all. I know a lot of the stuff we're going to be talking about, we talked about yesterday, and I gave you a nice, really good thumbnail. And for those of you who missed that show, go ahead and watch Saturday Overnight Live. And so the two main things I have that aren't really that big a deal, I mean, are bigger deals than they were last night, or I'm going to go over AEW's Forbidden Door, which might be the best pay-per-view any promotion has put out in 2026. And then we'll talk a little bit more a Supergirl, and this will probably be one of the last couple of days that we talk about it because I don't think there's anything more to say about it. I already told you that I personally, I've judged the movie on what it was and the circumstances that it was released under, and that's it. As far as people want to get into the box office, I don't give a fuck. I get $0 from Warner Brothers. The most they'll send me is free stuff to promote the movie. They didn't even send me anything. I had to do my own internal promotion when it came to Supergirl. I didn't even get anything from them. Like Superman, I got a shit ton of stuff. But yeah, Safran's come out and said that by his metrics, their metrics, it underperformed, but without knowing the math, I don't even know how much heart to take into that, but it's irrelevant to our conversation here. So if I skip over, and this is going to be going forward, I'm going to start skipping over the box office stuff because I realize how much I just don't care and how meaningless it ends up being, and how much do we just are not equipped to have that conversation, good or bad. So we'll let the talking suits talk about their numbers. It's their money. So without further ado, here's Brad. Here's Brad. All right. So and then for the most part, it's just going to be me answering your questions and stuff. I'm going to say hi to you guys, and then I'm going to jump into Forbidden Door, and then we'll talk some Supergirl, and then we'll wrap it up there. All right. But also tied to the top of the chat there, we are less than a month away from Comic-Con, and we are still in the midst of sending me, at least attempting to send me to Comic-Con and style. Where's my creepy? There it is. All right, this is the way you want to see me walking around, with a big smile on my face, a cape, a bunch of people whose costumes are on backwards, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, this is going to be some fun. I'm working on making this out of all the ones we've done since I've been a YouTuber or a streamer. My goal is to make this the best one, the most polished looking one, the least ghetto one. I want it to sound the best of all of them. I want it to look the best of all of them, and I'm in the process of acquiring equipment to do so. So anything you guys donate help. I still have the two and a half spots left, and I have smaller spots left all throughout. But the 2.5 hour spots are spots that are going to precede the Saturday Overnight Live show. It'll be your topic, your guest, and I will help you produce, or I will produce it for you because it's our StreamYard. So I have already had some people do those, and then I have 2 more left. So as we get closer to those will start to eliminate themselves because you only have so many Saturdays between now and when it's wheels up for Comic-Con. So you want me to be able to, not eat out of the garbage, not drink out of the toilet, and be able to present to you a nice presentation. So if you would like to participate that, the link is pinned to the top of the chat, and it is also the only link I put tonight because I was too lazy to put them all in. That is in the description. All right. So, hello, Ozzy. How are you doing? I'm pretty sure you watched Forbidden Door too. Objectivers, how are you doing? William, take this with a grain of salt. Okay, that's never a precursor to anything I want to hear, but I'll go ahead and give this a shot, Rational. William, take this with a grain of salt, but apparently DCU Batman has been cat. Well, we've been saying that for a while. I think they need to fucking announce it. And it's actor.
I'm skeptical.
I'm almost certain I would bet anything that I have. They have. I don't know if it's this person, but I am 100% sure that whoever it is knows who they are and they know who they are. We don't know, which is the problem. But yeah, they're not that. You may not agree with everything James Gunn has done, but I don't think there's a Batman cast, and their Wonder Woman was cast. When we find out it, remember, we're a bunch of fucking dummies with no information. We have no inside. We have nothing. We have our YouTube cameras and we have our opinions. We're not paying for shit. We're not casting shit. We're not planning shit. So if everybody in YouTube world thinks they know shit, trust me, you're probably behind the game, just like all of us are. All right, and it doesn't matter how smart we think we are. That's it. We're not on the inside. We are outsiders by default. We are outsiders. Take Two okay, DC Batman has been cast, and it's actor Tom Britley. Okay, that part I'm not 100% sure because I don't even know who he is. He'll have a cameo in either Clayface. The rumor is spreading like wildfire. All right, so thank you. And grain of salt is more like
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, that's more like boulders. Now, what I'll tell you, Rational, yes, they're probably casting. If it's a Tom Brittany guy, that's a rumor. I don't know what that would be based on. As far as his cameo in Clayface, it's possible, but I couldn't.
And apparently, this is kind of stemming from that. There's a report that they're going to. Excuse me. There's a report that actually, I guess now it's tomorrow. The report like June 30th, July 1st, there's going to be like some pickup filming on Clayface. So like 2 days of filming. So you're not going to, get a lot done on that. That's to film something like an end credits scene or, what have you. It's not going to turn it into like a Batman versus Clayface movie in that amount of time.
I will bet an expensive comic. I might have to pick one off the store that he will be in Man of Tomorrow, and you won't have to wait to see him in Man of Tomorrow. He will be in those trailers. I would not be surprised if we have a month till Comic-Con. I wouldn't be surprised if that person is not on the stage in front of me at Hall H.
Well, does DC even have a panel plan for Comic-Con this year? Is DC going to be there?
As far as I know, they are going to have people there. There's nothing been official, but they didn't announce anything official the last time until like 2 weeks before. So we still have 2 weeks for them to come up with. But in any, I wouldn't be surprised if James Gunn or Peter Safran or whoever this person ends up being announces it. I wouldn't be surprised to wake up tomorrow and it's announced it. But as far as like the rumors and all that, it's spreading like wildfire because that's what people who don't have information do. So I'm gonna thank you, Rational, but I'm gonna go ahead and wait until I hear it. Just like the whole Jean Grey thing, I think a lot of people may be on the verge of looking like fools on that one. So tell you what, the only people I'm gonna believe on this is James Gunn, Peter Safran, or the person who is actually playing the role in Harvey Dent. The whole, I'm still kind of chasing my tail about who Sebastian Stan's supposed to be. I thought that was locked, with all those rumors. So, yeah, the key word here is rumor and Twitter. There you go. Chappie, Supergirl, I thought was very underwhelming and kind of bland and a complete betrayal of the source material of Tom King, Woman of Tomorrow. I thought Millie was miscast as Supergirl. I don't think she was miscast. I think she was fine as Supergirl. I do agree with you about it being underwhelming and kind of bland, given the fact, because even if you don't read the source material. See, what you guys got to realize, I care about the source material. A comic book head will care about the source material. The majority of the audience who will plop down their money for this is not going to give a fuck about the source material. So where we have to start is the fact that what we know without the source material. Now, if I read the synopsis of Supergirl without ever having read the source material, because that's not relevant to me as the other 95%er, I'm looking at just on the premise, this girl, superpowers, is going all over the galaxy, going to several different worlds, and even without the source material, I'm probably going to want these worlds to be a lot more exotic and distinct. And they just weren't. So, yeah, the source material is great if you care about it. But if you're the majority of people who will go see this movie, you'll never even pick it up, unfortunately. So,
And with me, it's like I mean, I didn't hate the movie, but I mean, it just it didn't really grab me. It's got
Yeah,
things I like in it, like Momoa. I really enjoyed him
yeah,
as Lobo, even though he wasn't in it as much as I was expecting he was going to be a lot more than he was. And we were William and I were talking about this a bit last night after the show, where there's this weird kind of paradox with Lobo's role in it, where it's like, for those of you who haven't seen Supergirl, basically, kind of cliff notes of it is that she's going after Krem. He's got a beef with somebody who works for Krem, so they're both kind of on this vendetta with Krem. But the way it plays out, it's like, and Lobo's not a character in Woman of Tomorrow, but they put him in there as he kind of fills a role that other characters take. But so the weird thing is that you could take him out of this movie and the movie wouldn't change, but at the same time, it's like for me anyway, it's like he was the biggest source of entertainment value in the movie. So it's like I wouldn't want you to take him out of the movie, even though you could, and it wouldn't affect it. So that's kind of the weird thing that happened with it. Like Millie Alcock as Supergirl. I mean, I think she did fine for for the version of Supergirl she's being she was portraying in it, which is the Woman of Tomorrow version, which is a very kind of a, I don't know, what term would you use to, I mean, I don't want to like you use I don't want to like cliff notes it in a way where it's just like, okay, the role just calls on her to get shit faced. I mean, I don't want to like do it like that.
no, because that's only a part of the movie. It's not even a significant part.
But that's not like like traditional or classical or whatever term you want to use Supergirl, but like this version of Supergirl, that's what it's predicated on. So, for that, for what the story it's telling, I thought she did, she did well in the role. And again, Jason Momoa, really enjoyed him as Lobo, but Krem, yeah, very forgettable villain in Supergirl, unfortunately. So yeah, it's like
and he not only was he forgettable, he's a critical part to your script, and you really didn't have the option to belist him. He had to be held a little bit higher, and they just missed it. So
yeah,
but
I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it.
The source material is kind of irrelevant because the majority of the people who paid for a ticket are not even going to know it exists.
Is there any particular reason that you heard him say, or it's like because it's based on Woman of Tomorrow, and I think actually when it was announced, it was like Superman was called Superman Legacy.
It was called Woman of Tomorrow.
So was there any particular reason they gave, or like why they dropped the subtitle, or they just was that
because the general audience it had no relevancy to the general audience.
Well, yeah, but that's not going to like hurt its prospects either. Calling
it's not going to hurt it, but you don't want to have you want to declutter things in order to present the most refined product to your customer. And if there was no relevancy to Woman of Tomorrow as far as the general audience goes, why put it there? You're talking to me. You're talking to 3%. So and nice clean titles. 2-word titles are probably have done you. If you look at have done the best. So if the people who understood Woman Tomorrow were like 98% of the audience, then it has a relevance. But the vast overwhelming majority of the people, it's not going to. That title means nothing to them. So if it doesn't mean anything to you, Supergirl is just fine because it's her. It's about her. It's the for most of the people that are alive now that are going to see this. This is the first time that they've seen her on a huge screen. As a solo character, because 40 some odd years ago, if you look at the median age of the people that are going to the movies, they weren't even alive. So I thought that decision was fine. I would personally, I would have been okay with Woman of Tomorrow, but at the same time, I understood that where I am as far as the populace goes. This rumor needs to be true. James Gunn needs to make a Batman casting announcement I think he needs to make a Batman casting announcement yesterday. But here's the thing. Now if he does it, people are going to look at it as a panic move, when in my opinion, it should have been part of the SOP. But, it's not my studio. Chappie, and it has nothing to do with she not sexy. I personally just didn't think she bodied the character. I actually thought she did. I'm going to have to slightly disagree with you. Having read like I said, the source material is not going to mean as much to the majority of us, but it did mean something to me. And that was one of the things that turned it from being not a bad movie for me, because I thought that she tonally and look, I thought she had everything she needed for that particular character. She just didn't have a good story and a good infrastructure around her. So I'll have to slightly disagree I thought that the casting was fine, and even Krim's casting was fine until they put the thumbtacks and glue on his face and basically made him a Scooby Doo villain. Because the guy that they casted looks more like Krim than he did in the movie. So yeah. And a lot of times, and I'll say this with Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, is one of the reasons why that obviously we were missing T'Challa, but when you have somebody in the movie, a counterpart like Namor, and you don't have anything on the other side, so when Namor rises to the level that he rises to in the movie, there's nobody to meet him there, because I thought surely there was no way in hell that could have ever been the case. So when you have Supergirl rising to the moment, rising to the stature of her own movie, and then you have the person who's the antagonist for everything and pretty much everything that goes on in the movie, he's down here somewhere. It really hurt her performance in a way that she didn't have any control over. Hello, Duckman. What's going on? Forbidden Door was amazing. I enjoyed every match. The Road All In. Yeah, listen, guys, I don't care if it's only me and the Kangaroo that are into wrestling, but we're going to go ahead and no, that pay-per-view went more than 5 hours. You must have skipped you skipped the opening. I watched that whole damn thing. That pay-per-view went almost 6 hours. Okay. So let me go ahead and get that out of the way. Because yeah, this match, this pay-per-view had 12 matches on it, and I felt all 12. All right, so Joe Maloney, who you guys are not gonna know, he's from New Japan. I love his work. He defeated Daniel Garcia. This is the buy-in. Malika beat Sky Blue by pinfall. That was a buy-in TBS Championship qualifying match. Divine Dominion, Megan Bain, Lena Cross, who were both like 5'11" and 5'10", they were massive women, defeated Thunder Rosa and Olympia by pinfall. That was a buy-in match. All right, so this is match number 4 when we start the pay-per-view. And every single match from what I'm about to start on was an amazing match. I mean, if you were in San Jose tonight at the Cow Palace, you owe Tony Khan some money because he gave you everything tonight. Young Bucks, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson defeated El Sky Team, which is Mystico, Mascara Dorado, and Unbound Company, Shingo Takagi, and Titan. A match that didn't have a lot of names, but given you got people from CMLL and New Japan, you had a lot of high flying. I found that for an opening match, it was quite entertaining. Then one of the matches that I even paid for the whole thing for was Kenny Omega versus Zack Sabre Jr. by pinfall, a technical clinic that they put on. The match was great. They were great. I knew who was going to win this match simply because they're building up Kenny Omega for a championship run against Will Ospreay. So, but even though once there's 3 or 4 matches on here where there was only one outcome that made any sense, and even then the matches were entertaining. Jon Moxley defeated Bandito by technical submission. The match was good. Didn't end well, but the match was good. Jon Moxley's always entertaining, and Bandito is too. 2 clashes of styles I thought was pretty good. By the way, that 5th match, Kenny Omega, Zack Sabre Jr., that was a 26-minute match, and it may have arguably been the best match of the night. Shota Umino defeated Pac by pinfall. Once again, for you guys who are surface wrestling fans and fans at all, you're not going to know who either one of those people are. I know who both of them are, and that match was amazing as well. It was for the IWGP Global Championship match. Thekla, who I find one of the most entertaining females in all of wrestling, defeated Starlight Kid. That match, they generally don't give, in any federation, give women's matches this kind of time. They gave this match a lot of time, 18 minutes, 45, and it was really good. It was a great match. I enjoyed the shit out of this match. All right, and 2 guys that are older than me, Cope and Cage, basically Edge and Christian, defeated the Dogs, David Finlay and Clark Connors by pinfall. I still can't believe how Edge and Christian, that are like 53 years old, they're still in great shape. They can still work a match. I'm just amazed, and it makes me feel like shit because they're older than me and they're in way better condition. So this was a match, one of those setup matches where I knew the Dogs were not going to win. But the highlight of this was the return of Jay White and the Bang Bang Gang, which I wish they would just start calling them Bullet Club Gold. Mercedes Moné beat Maya World by submission in an amazing match. Another women's match that got a good amount of time, and that just doesn't happen on modern pay-per-views. 25 minutes almost. Knew who was going to win this match, but they had me thinking what they pulling up to here. This match was great. But these matches were, like I said, these were long matches. That was match number 10. This match right here was the one where I went and did other things. This is a 10-teamer with a whole bunch of people. I'm not going to list them off, but team, you had MJF's team versus Mark Briscoe's team. And Mark Briscoe's team wins, he gets a title match, and it looks like he's going to get a title match this next Wednesday. I'll tell you how that's going to end. I did not enjoy this match. I thought it was too long. It's added 30 minutes and 50 seconds to a pay-per-view that was already 9,000 years. And you really could have gotten Mark Briscoe his title shot without all of this. But for what it was fun, but it was my least favorite match of the night. And then we move on to something that I'm still in awe of. Will Ospreay defeated Swerve Strickland in a 35-minute match that was absolutely fucking brutal. And I don't believe that they meant for them to bleed as much as they did, because Swerve was bleeding to the point where I'm like, is he going to have enough blood to finish this damn match? And they were doing high impact moves on each other. I halfway through the match, it wasn't the match I thought it was going to be. I thought, okay, this one's not going to be. And then midway through, I didn't realize I had another 20 minutes of match going, and they raised it. Well, Will Ospreay wins. So All In, this big pay-per-view, kind of like their WrestleMania, is going to be at Wembley Stadium in London. So it was predictable that he would win, but just because things are predictable doesn't mean that they're bad. Sometimes things that are supposed to happen and they happen, and we're just happy there. I really, really, really enjoyed this pay-per-view. My review is not going to give it any justice. If I had Mondo with me here, I think I would have a little bit of help, but Brad's not into wrestling. It would be like me trying to break down Kung Fu. And it's just not going to happen because I don't care about Kung Fu, and you would have a one-sided conversation. So it's the same thing with wrestling. I know Brad does not care about wrestling. So if I had Mondo here with me, we would probably go
frame it like that, because it's like, I'm not the,
Yeah.
it's kind of like when you say you won't go to a movie for the martial arts, but it's like that doesn't repel you from one. It's
Yeah,
like,
I won't be like, ooh, no, but I'm not going to go. Like,
and I interviewed pro wrestlers. It's like, I'm not anti-pro wrestling. I'm just not.
Yeah, it's just not. I can't have.
I'm not the.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm basically going to be browbeating you, trying to get you to get to my, and it's just not going to happen, and that's fine. It's not a, but it would be the same thing around if we started talking about, about the Furious, and we aren't talking about the actors and actresses in the outright, layman action in it. Once we start talking about the shit that you start talking about, you're gonna lose me. So I'll go into deeper stuff when I have a wrestling guy, riding third chair. And same thing when Brad, if he ever gets off his ass and does his Kung Fu channel, he'll have somebody on the screen that can level. Good.
Well, funny that I actually mentioned that, because Aaron, because the Furious is gonna be on digital in a couple weeks.
Really soon.
Yeah, so I'm gonna message Perp and ask him if three of us want to get together.
Don't bring watch party of that. Don't bring that fucking lizard on my. No,
it's good. He was here for history, man.
I know. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we might do it like on his channel, but I thought we do that like do a watch party.
Do it on this one.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I told you could. I've been telling you for 2 years now, dude. Start your own Kung Fu show.
Well, again, it's like I'm telling you, there's like there's fantasy elements, like a dude surviving getting cracked in the head with a sledgehammer.
There are but there are the
it's not supernatural kind of fantasy, obviously. It's like action movie, like you gotta like. I mean, that's one of the things. It's like as a fan of this genre of these kind of movies, and you do have to kind of one of the things that kind of comes with it is that you have to kind of you suspend disbelief in the sense of people surviving things they realistically could not, and that's not with with just the Furious. I mean, that's like across the board. I mean, like John Wick, it's like particularly the fourth one is like full of like he should have died like 80 times over.
Yeah, the fourth John Wick movie is and this is my favorite of the four.
Yeah,
is 100%. Donkey shit. There's just things happening from the beginning of that movie that just don't work in real life. But that's the thing. I'm going to a movie that I know at this point is complete bullshit, but it's fun. So,
well, again, and that's like and it's part and parcel of this of this genre is that we go and we accept it's like okay, there's like you don't get up for something like what I just saw, but see now the sledgehammer thing in the Furious specifically because you've seen the trailer for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because so you saw I mean that was all over the marketing of the sledgehammer moment, and like that character specifically, they have a little backstory of him where it's like he was brought up since he was a kid under this on this crime boss, and long story short, he kept throwing him into the MMA cage, just kind of like in these cockfights, and they say he has like long-term brain damage for that. So like you could like make that I suppose you could like the argument like
we're getting deep, we're getting into the weeds.
His brain was already mush anyway, so that's why he survived that.
On the Aaron and Brad show, you guys and Perp, you want to have the dinosaur in there with you guys? You have at it, but we ain't gonna and the sad thing with the potential not doing so well at the box office, it just shows this curse that Hollywood can't make it good. That's not necessarily true, though, because Wonder Woman, they did Wonder Woman.
What you said is right at the end. Wonder Woman was great, like the first one.
Yeah, but you all of these movies are going to fit their purposes, though. They didn't. I mean, a strong lead for Captain Marvel. I mean, what they didn't. They knew they didn't need one, and then when they put her in the Avengers, she was more spectacular in the actual movies than she was anything else. On the Marvels wasn't good, but I don't think it's Hollywood. Here's where I think you guys are wrong with this. It's not Hollywood not making a strong lead. Now, don't know, this wasn't a good movie, but I don't think that's some kind of trend. I think the general audience is not necessarily pulling the trigger to go see a female lead as much as they would a male lead. And I'm going to give you a prime example. That's exactly what I was about to hit. Ballerina is a better movie than at least 3 of the John Wick movies. In fact, I'll go ahead and say it. Ballerina is a better movie than John Wick 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, I put it about on par with it's upper tier in the franchise for me.
Yeah, so for me, it's John Wick 4, and then Ballerina, and then the rest of them if you want to take the franchise like that. But why you have you have men and women that go see John Wick, right? Though there's no reason for me. I'm sorry that the same people that like John Wick didn't give you the numbers that gave you the Ballerina. And I think it's a lot of people can't picture a female lead doing what a male lead does. And plus, in both cases, they weren't the A character. Because if you look at Atomic Blonde was a hit.
Charlize Theron, from the ground up, she wasn't a John Wick. She was likened to John Wick, but it wasn't a John Wick spinoff.
Yeah, and it came out before, and I think it come out.
No, it came out after the first.
No, that's the first one, yeah.
Before the second one.
But there was no direct. There still isn't one, but there was no connection to them, right? So Atomic Blonde, that was her movie. She was the A-list character, and if you look at movies that were the A-list, the woman is the A-list character. Wonder Woman was an A-list character. It's just treated differently, unfortunately. I'm not saying it's right, because Ballerina, that shows me that a lot of people are just full of shit. I'm sorry. Ballerina, there's no reason that movie should not have made a lot more than it did.
And listen, Perp and I we were all over that. It's like we do not have the reluctance for like a female action hero. So you cannot put that on us.
No, it's just the general audience doesn't, and it's something I don't know what's going to change it. But what you're saying, Chappie, a lot of the way the audience, they know that the audience is going to accept the female lead, especially a B character. That's how they approach it. So you might be right in some respects.
Well, and now it was interesting because like even Wonder Woman, like she got kind of like a backdoor pilot through her BDS appearance, but again, she wasn't like she's not like Robin. She's not like
she's an A-list, even though she showed up in someone else's movie.
She's not a spin-off character from another character. So that was again
Wonder Girl.
That was the idea with that was to establish the idea that okay, she's there's other metahumans, they've been around for hundreds of years, and then her movie's a prequel to that. But it wasn't like if you had done her solo movie just in isolation, we never had a Wonder Woman movie before. So it's like that's there's fertile ground, with or without her BVS cameo. I do think her, especially with how well her role was received in BVS, I do think that that gave it a good boost, the Wonder Woman movie. But again, it's not, you're not it's not a character who's tethered to another character that's kind of being trying to take the lead on that, or being asked to take the lead on on their corner of the franchise.
Somebody had posted something. Okay. I'm gonna bring this up. I rarely do this but this is not some kind of Twitter war. It's just me responding to it.
Is Supergirl?
Yeah. And I think this is a lot of what I'm not hearing when it comes to why. Okay, so this person I friend and I responded. We need to have a serious discussion on why the GA are not showing up to DC movies that aren't Batman or Superman, because it's starting to piss me off. And my response is here, and then somebody responded to me. I'm like, as far as the general audience goes, DC is the Trinity. It's like I said last night. It begins and ends with them, or it runs the risk of sputtering, because the DC general audience only cares about second tier or derivative characters because of the A-list characters. This has been established on most DC formats for 8+ decades, and it's not changing anytime soon. And then Rebel Moon Hype, I've seen this name around, and he brought up the example, well, Peacemaker was successful as with Aquaman. Here's my response to that, and this is going to be my response to anybody else who brings this up. I can't speak for Peacemaker because those numbers are internal, and we'll never get the actual truth about that, except for with Samba, and I don't really care about that. But even still, that's a TV show, nowhere near the financial risk invested in going to a movie for both the people making the movie or the people going to a movie. Aquaman's not a good example. Aquaman came after Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman had already been on the screen.
And a Justice League movie, terrible as it was, but a Justice League movie.
A woman had already been on the screen, and after he himself had been on the screen alongside them in Justice League. So that's not a good see. So what this person was saying, the abstract characters didn't bolster these characters. Aquaman is at the end of the bench with the Flash.
Yeah, he's also not a spin-off character either. I mean, he's as far as like his corner of DC is like, his spin-off character is like Aqualad.
Yeah, but he's one of the younger characters that came up, because remember, Aquaman came up after Submariner. It was a copy of Submariner. He came along. Now he's a founding member of the Justice League, but the Trinity and Aquaman is the A-lister, Flash is sort of, but they are the Jordan and the Pippin. They're those other guys that you kind of know about. So when you're talking about launching DC anything, it's the Trinity, guys. And I know us genre people want to see some obscure characters and say, well, why can't they see this? But then that person is asking that question of why the general audience isn't showing up. They're literally answering their own question. No matter how much you think that these Z-list characters, how much they mean to you or how much you want to see them, if you want to see them on a regular basis, you have to put them in the right situation. And I just don't think that they did in this case. So TNA was stupid to December. Yeah, I don't know what TNA was smoking. They knew there was no way they were ever going to compete with AEW on that. They should have put that on a different date. I don't know why they did. I think that what's his face is still angry about being preempted, even though Tony Khan didn't do it. The NBA and college basketball preempted them and put them on a Thursday. But I think TNA's got a lot of issues that they're going to have to work out. So, how Jordan, William, it feels like people in charge didn't even read the source material. Well, the people who were in charge of this, Tom King definitely read it because he wrote it. And for a fact, I know because I saw them that they did read it. Knowing what is in the source material and being able to transfer it over into something relevant is two different things. I truly believe all involved read. They just gave us their interpretation of it that I just don't think works. Because even without the source material, because like the source material, when it comes to making a good movie, will mean something to me. But it's not really relevant to somebody who's never going to read that source material. For somebody who's never going to read that source material, which is everyone else, I need the basics. I got the stories taking place in outer space, so I know that. I got a Kryptonian, I know that. I have a villain, and here's what this villain did. All I need are the basics. I don't need to. You can be able to A good director and a good screenplay person will be able to make a great movie off of that. It wasn't even a good movie on those bases because the color palette, all the planets looking like, all looking like San Bernardino or Vegas. That's something I never needed to read. I showed you what that looked like as an example of what it could have been. But if you're a good director, if you're good at your craft and you have an artistic mind, you never needed to see Woman of Tomorrow's pages. I'm telling you as a director, as somebody who's been tasked with this, that we have 7 different worlds. And these are the type of aliens that are on this world. I'm going to draw them out for you. I'm going to sketch out to you. If I get you a fucking walrus, right? The aliens on this page look like walruses and seals, right? What is your world going to probably look like? It's going to look like water. Do I need to read the source material about that? No. Is the layman, the average person, going to give a fuck the fact that there's no walrus aliens in that comic book? No, because they're never going to read it. They're going to give as much shit about that as they did Lobo, who is absolutely nowhere in the source material being in there. So no, I don't. I do believe that they read the source material, Hal. I don't think they did a good job translating it, but that wasn't necessary though for them to make a good movie. You could have just written loosely based on Woman of Tomorrow. I just gave you basic stuff that should have been in the movie with or without the source material. So I do believe that they read it, but I don't believe that they transferred it over effectively. But I don't even think they made an effectively good movie even without that. So that's how I feel about that. And here you are with this weird shit, Bill.
Hey, Belro. Have you seen Supergirl, Belro, by any chance?
You should probably hate watched it. Hal Jordan, when they make a comic book movie exclusively from the source material, let me know. They generally don't in most cases. They take, some adaptations are tighter than the other, but at the end of the day, they're making it for a general audience. They're making it for a general audience who I wish this was different. It's getting better with the general audience coming to seek this shit out. Absolutely, Universe is helping that. But as far as like the source material, people reading that, I promise you that if you had a packed theater going to see Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, the majority of those people, they ain't gonna listen. I still got people coming into my store, and I shit you not, this is dead serious, who see Invincible sitting on my shelf and walk up to me and say, they made a comic book out of that. And that's a lot of people. It's not just 1 or 2. There's plenty of people who don't know The Boys. I had The Boys graphic novel sitting on my relevant reads shelf, as far as in our as seen on TV section. And I get people that bring it up. They bring it up to me and they ask me, "Is this comic book based on the show?" So the vast majority of the people, when it comes to source material, who are going to foot the bill on these things, they're just not going to be reading the source material. So you need to be making something that's good before it's the source material. You need to be able to tell a story, and they just didn't know how to do it. That I don't know. I wasn't paying enough attention to the production. Whatever the end result, though, is that there wasn't enough composition. There wasn't enough score in that movie. And I said this on Junkie that night, there were parts of that movie that I felt that if there was a score there that helped escalate the tension. Hans Zimmer is a bastard of it. Any of you who have not watched the greatest movie ever made, which is Blade Runner 2049, you see what he does there is a masterclass of using the score to bring you in. He is a master of doing that. He's done it in just about every movie, even movies I don't like. I'm not a big fan of Interstellar. Not a big fan at all. That movie bores my eyelashes off, right? But that score for Interstellar is fucking amazing. Inception is one of the most disappointing movies I've ever seen. You play time, which is one of the main things from Inception, I will stop dead what I'm doing and listen to it. So a score is important, and I just think that the score that they had was subdued. And then you had and not only was the score subdued, the music, the soundtrack music, wasn't good. They weren't good decisions, in my opinion. I was going in order. Films like Underworld, Salt, Ballerina are movies that prove you can make a great female. But like we said before, Salt, Ballerina was a good movie, but it wasn't perceived as something that the general audience wanted to see. Underworld was vampires and werewolves, easy sell. Salt had Angelina Jolie, who's a much bigger a much bigger figure than Ana de Armas is at that point.
And it's yeah, they're proof. Nobody here is doubting that you can make female-led blockbusters or they can be good. It's whenever I hear people, it's like yeah, of course. It's like nobody's disputing that. Nobody. Unless yeah, you can anecdotally find raging misogynists who said like yeah, it's like you put a chick in the lead, it's gonna suck. It's like no, it's like that's not like
circumstances.
That's not like the mainstream consensus though.
Circumstances mean a lot. Context is king, guys. If you, I'm going to go out and say it again and over and over and over and over again that is mediocre as this movie was. If you put it in the right situation, if you release this movie exactly as it is, after you released your main guns, and I think this movie does fine financial. Yeah, this movie does. I'm still not going to like it as much as I think I should. I'm still going to find it a disappointment. But at the same time, I found Captain Marvel a disappointment. I thought that was a pretty dreadful movie. And because
this is better than Captain Marvel, though.
Yeah, but because of the situation Captain Marvel was put in, the people don't bash Captain Marvel as much. But when that same character, comes around again without the context, without the surroundings of the big guns and the noise from the mainline MCU has died down, you put that character out in the ocean. Look what happened. So, and that with the Marvels was actually a little bit better than Captain Marvel, to be honest with you.
For me, the big reason was Kamala Khan, who, again, I thought, based on the trailer, because I hadn't watched the show, I thought she was going to annoy the hell out of me. With she's zapped into space. Oh my god! She ended up being. She made the whole thing where I want to see more of Kamala Khan.
The sound of her voice makes my ears I could not. She annoyed the shit out of me.
I think I said before, like she reminded me a lot of Ezra Miller's Flash as being like the big dorky characters, just really excited to be teaming up with the heroes they look up to.
Yeah, with the Marvels, I didn't think it was great, but it was better than Captain Marvel. I thought the cage match was insane. Yeah, he invented a circular cake box looking thing. That was kind of cool, but that match was like, let's see. I'm just skipping past the ones where it looks like you guys are talking to yourself. I gotta check out AEW sometimes. I'm surprised and so enough that you are not heavier into it because it's the best shit out there right now as far as like large scale wrestling. There's a lot of indie stuff out there, but I need the big guns in my diet as well as the indies. I'll watch them all. Let's see. No. It went for 5 hours and 45 minutes. Damn near 6 hours. Brad is actively avoiding his own channel. William just said, "Brad, get your channel up." Brad responds, "I'm going."
We're gonna get around to it, guys. Aaron and I, we're gonna do it.
Didn't do it, but that's where we talk. That's where you talk kung fu because I just have no desire to talk. Like being awake for more than 5 hours. I don't have brain damage. William, I know you don't like Vinny Russo. I don't have anything personal against him. I just think there was a time and place for Vince Russo, and it's not in the present. But you should check into JCW sometimes. I guess they have technical matches now. And again, gimmicks for that it suits me. I'll take a look at it. I'll take a look at any wrestling. To be honest with you, you don't have to twist my arm to watch wrestling. The whole group not willing to turn out for women-led action movies or women. That's actually a sad truth.
Yeah, that is.
It's kind of weird.
Well, it's even for this movie and all like the Marvels too. I think they both had like this one because they put out stats of like the demographic breakdowns. This one I think it was like 59% male. The Marvels that was really interesting. That was like 2/3 a male audience. And I think it was like 61 for the Captain Marvel. So that is, a little bit, a little bit.
That's not something.
I don't have an answer for that. That's like that's a head scratch for me.
We under Roman. We'll like a better movie. Also, biggest modern. You missed me there. Yeah, but they haven't put out movies and single movies in quite a while. How you doing,
Oh
Jalen?
no, Mila Jovovich, she had something called The Protector. I think it was back in February. I actually really liked that. That was and I think I mentioned about it on here. It's basically kind of like her riff on Taken because
Sounds like
her
a
daughter
straight to
gets
streaming deal.
yeah, but this is one of those where it's like you would think that it kind of is that, but then it's an example of like one that kind of like you kind of just slipped through the cracks and made it into theaters. So that which I enjoyed that because I saw I got to see it theatrically and really dug it. It's got a twist ending that is like I'm not gonna say what happens in the twist ending, but it's clever, but it's also very heartbreaking. This twist ending in the Protector Emilia Jovovich. So
But she's not at the point in her career where she's going to be a main drop or anything, and neither is Sigourney Weaver. So I will never understand how. Oh, that's easy, easy. Um, you had see as much as we don't like 27 Justice League, and the fact that it only makes 600, whatever, that still means lots of people did see it. Not as many as did. We've seen a better.
well, at the
Justice League
time,
movie.
it was the lowest earning DC
Yeah.
universe, DC connected universe movie.
But here's the thing: it's not the important thing to remember. It wasn't zero. So somebody saw that movie. Now, probably 3 times as many people that saw that movie in a theater saw it on a TV channel, which everyone has access to for basically free.
Yeah,
So whether you like
cable,
whether you like 27 Justice League or not, for what I'm about to say is not relevant. The layman, the average person, had an opportunity to see Jason Momoa, and if that's the only thing that they connected with, that's
which is
how
very sad.
got. If Jason Momoa is the only thing that you connected with, it doesn't listen. It doesn't fucking matter what internet trolls think about Justice League 2017. Doesn't matter. For what I'm saying, it is irrelevant. So let's stay focused. If somebody on free or basic cable has access to something and they connect, they like the way that Aquaman looks, they like the way he looks, they like Jason Momoa, they haven't seen him on a lot of things, that carried over to the success of that he was able to have in that movie. Plus, you had China, but Jason Momoa has become, by that time in his career, had become a draw. He has the look and the feel of an it guy. He's got everything you need to make that kind of movie. So, and a lot of the people who went to go see Aquaman, no matter how we felt about Justice League, there were still a lot of us that hadn't put it together to the point where we thought it was this big overarching conspiracy. As far as a lot of us were thinking, it's like, okay, they're not scrapping everything. Here's the Aquaman that's in this universe. Obviously now 6-7 years later, we understand. But I promoted Aquaman. I gave away over 200 tickets to Aquaman. A lot of the people that went with me to Aquaman were people who went to BVS with me, went to Man of Steel with me, and were disappointed at Justice League. So we had 3 movies that we had in front of us. 2 out of the 3 were epics and were not disappointed. So there was always a chance. So a lot of people who saw BVS and Man of Steel went to go see Aquaman. Along with that, it was augmented by the fact that a lot of the Joe Average had access to that Justice League movie, and that's what did it. And then you had China coming in making almost half of what it made there. We won't have that again because China has shut us out. So that's how it made it. It's not when you put all those factors together and you take yourself out of the anger bubble that Snyder fans put themselves in sometimes, because it's not relevant to what you're asking me. If you can actually objectively look at facts and numbers, that's how you get to $1 billion when it comes to Aquaman.
Doesn't make it any less sad.
But do you think Joe Average gives a shit? He didn't.
Doesn't make it any less sad.
All right, let it go. Jason Momoa and his market for the MILFs of what made, and that's another thing. He's a MILF magnet. He's going to get his own movie regardless of how Supergirl does. He's going to get his own series or movie, and he'll actually be relevant in it because he'll actually belong in it. But he's going to get. That's one thing I took away from this movie. I think you'll see Millie Alcock again because I think
you are going to see Man of Tomorrow, so definitely
Man of Tomorrow, and I think you'll see her in the subsequent movies. Past that as well. Jason Momoa's Lobo. Yeah. I think you're definitely going to see that. Thank you for the $2 super chat. Supergirl may do well in streaming POV. Yeah, and one of the things that you mitigate when you're not so sure about a movie and it's a Z-lister is, do you want to take the wife and the kids and drop $125 on snacks and popcorn buckets and everything else to go see something you're not unsure in, but when it's up on your TV screen and you're using the magic wand here, if it sucks, you can point these little arrows up in it and the channel changes and it goes away. When you've invested in a movie, you've invested in the movie. Now, I've walked out on some movies. There's been, you guys know that most of there have been some movies that I just thought were absolute garbage, and I waited out in the lobby because usually I had been drugged there with people that I was responsible for. But I think Supergirl. I think there's a lot of movies that'll do well on streaming, but I think Supergirl is going to do fine on streaming.
How long do they usually wait till like HBO Max or something like that from like the theatrical? Because first they put theaters, then digital, then whatever streaming platform it's attached to.
It'll be on digital. It all depends on what the contracts are that they signed before the movie was even made. So I'm going to guess that this one's going to be on digital within 3 weeks from now. And then within 5 weeks, within 4 weeks, it'll be on HBO Max, roughly around that time, because there's no advantage of keeping it where it is. And another thing, and we got to keep going back to the fact that would we be having this conversation if we had already had a Batman, a Superman, and a Wonder Woman all out on the thing? If we'd had a pedigree of good movies, even if you didn't like this one, and still said it doesn't change the it's a bad day at the office. If you had 3 movies out and this was number 4, 1/4 of your output didn't hit. Here it's half. You only have 2 theatrical trips with this universe, and half of them is Supergirl. That hurts. And you got a long while before you have another A-lister, and it's the same guy. So that's something I hope that they solve, because I think it's really important for their longevity. Wonder Woman looked like a better quality movie. Plus, it had one of the biggest modern. No, it was Wonder Woman. That fucking romance. Nobody gives a shit whether a superhero movie has romance or not, as long as it has everything else that a superhero movie has.
Well, how's a no?
Because you got fourth in his work sense of shit. But Wonder Woman did well because of BVS and because it's Wonder Woman. So there you go. It did need romance. Aquaman had Jason Momoa without his shirt off.
What? What superhero movie? What superhero movies besides Batman? And even then, whenever Catwoman was around, well, but even then, I gotta walk that back, because I think other than BVS, Justice League, of the Dark Knight trilogy, even Dark Knight trilogy has Rachel Dawes and Talia. So it's what? I probably a good 75% of DC and Marvel have some kind of romance in them.
People, that's not romance. People fucking isn't romance.
Well, it's not. Well, no, maybe with Talia, but Superman and Lois Lane is
that was a con job, is what she pulled on him. What do you think about the new Batman rumors added to Coke? So yeah, he brought this up earlier. I give them no credence until I hear them from people that actually matter. Yeah. That's where I'm at, Jalen, on that one. So sorry, I can be a little bit more colorful, but I don't chase my tail for unsubstantiated.
Well, and even this is it might just you might not even show him properly show Batman, because it's that amount of time you're not going to turn this in Batman versus Clayface, and they don't really need to.
But
they might even just do what they did in Creature Commandos, so they just show him in silhouette, or show the bat signal, or
they got to do a little bit more than that though. They got to do a little bit more than that, because even if they have to make a chain to get him, he doesn't need to be in the movie like that, but he needs to be out there. And since Clayface is your very next thing in a movie theater, that you have to put him out there. People have to know that that they're getting the expectation, they're getting the bat, that they're getting the lasso, that they're getting all these things. Otherwise, you run the risk of them drifting away, and you lose the signal. I haven't seen it either, but this pay-per-view was 10,000 years long. So I'm going to watch House of the Dragon after this. I got it, Rachel. Thank you. How do you feel about Peter commenting about Supergirl sure comes at the box office?
I was surprised they did it so quickly. I mean, it was like still during the weekend when they said it.
Here's the thing. I'm not a big fan of Peter Safran. I think he's the shill. But when it comes to, here's what he said was very important. He said the box office wasn't where he wanted. I'm paraphrasing, but it's just a piece in what we're doing. That's what should have happened back in 2016 when you had 870 something million. You should have been able to say that. The people who are running the show then should have been able to say that with a lot easier breath than Peter Safran, whose movie made 39 million. You're talking about a movie that made 80. So even if you were fucking stupid enough not to be able to take that win and you thought that was underperformance, what Peter Safran said over this weekend is what those shitheads should have said then and moved on. He's taking that from the Kevin Feige book, is we will make adjustments, but we're not blowing everything up. And that's what you should be saying. So yeah, I actually like I said, not the biggest fan of Peter Safran because he's been involved in other decisions from the preceding regime that I thought that weren't the best. But what he said over the weekend is exactly the right answer. Why didn't they do Supergirl like with Zack Snyder Watchmen, where it's frame by frame? It wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered. The fact that they didn't 100% adapt the source material is meaningless. The fact that they didn't make a very good movie is. Zack Snyder adapting Watchmen like he did, and it was close. If he doesn't execute it well, then it doesn't matter. Because there are things in Watchmen, the movie, that you can never get in the comic. Zack Snyder made a brilliant movie first. The fact that he was able to do what he did as far as making it familiar, because guess what? Once again, the majority of people who will ever see any comic book movies, you think they're picking up Watchmen? There are hardcore collectors to this day that haven't picked up Watchmen. So you think Joe and Jeannie Average are going to go picking up that complex 12-issue maxi series? Fuck no, they didn't then, and they're not doing it now. But that didn't matter. Because Zach did things that weren't. I mean, Zach made Dr. Manhattan. Spoiler alert, it's been quite a while. Zach made Dr. Manhattan the physical entity that was supposed to have wiped out everybody, or his powers were. There was no squid monster there. The whole there's a lot of things that Zach didn't put frame for frame. He took what was necessary and then he made a stylistic movie. That Watchmen, even with the source material, without Zack Snyder's style, that movie doesn't work. You take another director that doesn't have that flair for what he does, and you may have a disaster on your hands, whether they use the source material or not. So you have to be able to tell a good story, and the source material is a guide for you. But if you're not doing the basics to make a good movie, it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't. And the Supergirl not being mirrored to the source material is not what killed it. Supergirl not being a good movie that just based on the basic parameters that you know of the story, that's what hurt it. Let's see. Mandalorian Grogu had a pretty good OST. Soundtrack, regardless of what people thought of the movie. Oof, getting dry. Hold on, man. Talking geek dries the throat. It's hard to even articulate just how much of a disaster Supergirl is. It's not going to be the biggest disaster of all time. I mean, we've talked about some of them. It took a sledgehammer to whatever goodwill DC had post Superman. They really need Lanterns. That's not a Supergirl problem. That's not inherent to the movie. The movie didn't do that. Their decision to put Superman as their number 2 movie did that. You should have been building goodwill with the bat in the lasso, in the ring. I mean, because if you do that, and Supergirl comes out and it's not necessarily what you think it should be, that goodwill, you're not wiping the goodwill of Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman. You're not wiping out that unless you do something completely disaster. The only way the DCEU did it is they took those same characters and made a bad hatchet job movie. But yeah, if you have Batman, Wonder Woman, and Supergirl out there, or not Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman out there, and maybe Lanterns, and then you put this derivative character out there, that character on its own being 1/5 or 1/4 of your output, is not going to create bad will. It creates bad will when you only put out 2 movies after all this time. One of them's a derivative character, and one of them's Superman. That hurts you more than anything. So the decision making and the structure doomed them more than the actual movie did, in my opinion. But Lanterns, listen, dude, I'm not one of these guys who's switching up and all this, and no, maybe I'm going to move on. No. From the day Mr. Silverhair with the hot wife announced his slate and described what he was going to do and told me who was doing it, I was down. I didn't give a fuck about anything else. Didn't give a fuck about Superman. Didn't give a fuck about Creature Commandos. Didn't give a fuck about Clayface. I'm happy that great Swamp Thing. Any of this other shit that you were doing, that was white noise to me. Once I heard what you, and then you bring in some of my favorite stuff about HBO, True Detective, which is better, there's more greatness that comes out of that show than anything else, less than greatness. You're going to make it in the vein of HBO Max, which automatically gives you your barometer where you need to go. I've been saying, get me the Lanterns since he said Lanterns. So Lanterns, I think, is going to be a game changer on a level that's not necessarily the big screen, though. Unfortunately, it's a TV show. But if HBO has shown you anything, if you make the right connection, who's not talking about Game of Thrones? Who's not talking about the black screen the last episode of Sopranos? You have a chance here with Lanterns to get into that zeitgeist. And if you do it right, then maybe Lanterns is what propels you forward. I still would not have planned this the way they did, because I think that you leave yourself open to a low output. And like I've always said, now instead of having 5 things out to where you can say, hey, 4 were really good and this one was kind of in the middle, you got 2 things out in half. That's half. That's bad. So yeah. Blasting bomb. Dude, that's a weird typo that fix for you. Ballerina bombed because Anna Armas is not a draw. Maybe if it stars Scarlett Johansson, then sure. Well, not necessarily. She's been in movies that haven't done that great. And if you don't believe that, I don't know who you could have put in that movie, as long as that movie was from the world of John Wick. That movie, I don't think that movie does well. I don't think Anna de Armas wasn't a problem. She wasn't the biggest draw in the world, but I don't think her being a draw was the problem. I think the fact that it was the derivative character. It was a derivative character, and I hate to say this because I think Kane is gonna. I think Kane's gonna bomb. I'm not hoping Kane's gonna bomb. Unfortunately, I think
Hong Kong and China alone are gonna make that a hit.
Okay. Let's detach ourselves from preferences here.
That's not preferences. That's math.
That's preference.
That's math. That is. You're telling me Donnie is not going to be a draw in China and Hong Kong on this?
No, not for a general audience. No, not for
China,
American general audience.
He's not big in Asia.
I'm talking about. I live in America.
Yeah, but money comes in from the entire planet.
An American-based film about China, you American production company, don't always assume that it's going to get released in China. There's some problems we're having with the government. You might, want to check out the news or Google. But fuck what Brad's saying. Just let me finish my thought. Unfortunately, I think that movie's going to bomb. And the reason I think it's going to bomb is because it's not John Wick. There's a difference between the world of John Wick and John Wick. I think John Wick is the main draw of the John Wick universe. And when he's not on the screen in a John Wick movie, I think that movie has a good chance of not doing very well. or underperforming, not necessarily bomb, but whatever people are thinking. Oh, like me, I can't believe Ballerina did. Well, then I'm like, okay, well, John Wick's in the movie, but it's not his movie. He's not the main character. So, and it's going to be the same thing when it comes to the general audience, the people who go out and see the names that they know and love. There's a brand name issue here. There's a brand name issue. It will make some money, but it's going to be one of those, if you blink, it's on streaming before you turn your head again. So, and I think that's part of not that Anna de Mars is not a draw, but John Wick is the draw. It's a John Wick world, and I think the movies are going to do decreasing amount. I'm not hoping. Listen, I like Donnie. I have nothing against him, but if I'm thinking that John Wick is the draw in a John Wick universe, unfortunately, and which sucks because I think the universe has a lot of cool, just from the shit you don't see, just from the mythology that they talk about in these movies. I want to see some of this stuff, but I don't think the general audience gives a rat's ass unless Keanu Reeves is in there pushing the narrative, unfortunately. So, hey, I hope I'm wrong. I don't want to see anybody fail and lose their job or not get a chance to make another movie again because of that. But I think, unfortunately, I believe that to be the case. I'd love to be wrong. We can revisit it when this comes out, but I don't see that being any type of success like that. Not the type of success American people who put up American money to make these movies are going to want to say, let's do that again. I don't know if I'm getting a Ballerina again. And that's a fucking shame. So, very easy to articulate Supergirl disaster, James Gunn. No, that's if you're being simple-minded. Yeah, I mean, that's easy. That's like I can, say see cat run and see dog bark. That's, yeah. If you simplify things, you can simplify anything, I guess. But I think there's a little bit more to it than that. Okay, now you fix your typo. This I will agree with. And not only is he not, because Keanu Reeves took a while off. I mean, it wasn't like he's been in the Hitmaker before.
Well, he wasn't off. He just wasn't like Neo.
He wasn't making movies, yeah. But even still, I don't think it's just because Keanu Reeves is a draw unto himself. He is a draw now as John Wick. And people have turned, if it's not John Wick and the Ballerina, then they're going to be like, she's leading the way in the movie. That's not John Wick to me. Even though if you watch that fucking movie, I'm asking you people who talk to me about John Wick this, John Wick that. And then when I ask you, did you go see a Ballerina? Oh, no, that chick. I'm like, I'm quoting you somebody who I'm giving him John Wick coins in the T-shirt to send him to this movie, and he's not going to go. I'm like, dude, you just talked my ear off for an hour. We were watching scenes about John Wick, and this is the lead up. Remember, we promoted Ballerina, and I'm like, this guy's an easy sell. I know this guy's going to be one of the ones sitting in the hooping and hollering with me, from what I've seen. Oh, no, man. And then he just went on. I'm like, oh, well, fuck. And then I started to hear that over again. And I'm like, you guys suck. You really do. Especially after I saw Ballerina. I'm like, you motherfuckers, I'm sorry, but you're telling me, by not telling me, you're telling me the only reason that you didn't go see one of the bloodiest, vicious movies, a far more vicious movie than any John Wick movie. A far more savage movie than any John Wick movie. That, and you just tell me, I like the blood. I like to see John Wick cut and I like to see him, cut people up more. And then one guy was like, you know what, the one thing I don't like about John Wick, the movies, is I think it's too precise and it's too pretty. It needs to be more brutal. And I'm like, you didn't see? You didn't watch the woman singing a skate and killing fools with a skate and frying 100 people with a flamethrower? That wasn't good enough. So that you're telling me, because there's no reason why Ballerina should not have done well. But it's a derivative character. John Wick wasn't the main character in the movie. And like I would love to be surprised to see the next thing that they do that hits the big screen. Just surprise me. Because I don't want to believe that about the John Wick audience. Fuck you guys, man. How did you not go see that? Whatever. So, but I agree with you here. He's just not unto himself, but I think that the folklore that John Wick has become has to be there with each of these things, which kind of self-defeating because he's going to beat John Wick forever. if you want this universe to breathe somehow. But this comes to the conclusion we came to last year when we were talking about the ballerina. Maybe this universe doesn't continue. If he can't be in everything, and he can't be in everything, maybe this universe doesn't continue. And there's a lot of stuff about this universe I would like to see fleshed out. But from a financial and business point of view, I don't know if it's feasible. Unless you're going to stick Keanu in every movie until he's 90. I don't know if that's the thing that you can do. I mean, granted, he's aged well, but shit, I'm calling it now. Man, tomorrow makes them more than 4.
I don't think it's going to be like that. Yeah, I was talking.
It's too far. It's too far away. It's too far away to me.
I was talking about somebody earlier, and this kind of gives like a little bit like me, like the box, which I never do because I'm. Or put it another way, I don't do box office punditry or box office prediction that involves like me putting like a hard dollar amount on anything. I never say I think this is going to do like 500. Because every time I've done that before, it's like
same here. I don't think I've been right this year.
I keep it like general. I say I think it'll do well. I think it'll do fine, or I think this won't do so well. I keep it like generalized like that.
Like I said about Supergirl, I thought Supergirl. I didn't think it would struggle this bad, but I think Supergirl would struggle because of the reasons I've given you.
Yeah, having said that, I'd said here on the show, it's like I kind of predicted previously that I thought Supergirl had it. I was thinking it would land in like the range of the first Shazam, which that did like 368. I thought it would do like give or take $50 million for that, which like for a Supergirl movie, I think that'd be a pretty good result. And then so of course that's not. I mean, the God, this is looking really dire. Where they're saying it's like now it might underperform Morbius in the long run, which that's definitely not. The result they were looking for.
Yeah, but see, the thing about Morbius, that was all self-inflicted because
Yeah.
It's just, I think the problems with DC are far longer. They have a far longer cord to them than some of these other things that people compare.
And I get what you're saying. She's a Supergirl's derivative character, but I mean, I think she's not A-list, but she's closer to the A-list than Morbius was. She's further up the totem pole of like mainstream recognition than Morbius. So
yeah, but Supergirl didn't have 3 successful Venom movies, So I mean,
but so going back to like Fort's when he was saying there 450, because I was thinking, Superman, that did like 618, I think that was his final tally. So I was thinking, okay, this might get that underperformed Man of Steel, but I was thinking, okay. That it got close enough to it that I think, okay, the second one has a shot of like hitting that mark or getting past it. Now after this, it's like I'm a little bit. I don't know. It's like because
I agree, but it's so far away.
This might do like a little bit. And Aaron, I don't mean to pick on one of your favorite IPs here, but like with Wicked, like the 2 Wicked movies, and with the first one. Did significantly better than the second one, and I enjoyed the second one a lot. That doesn't like have a lot of implications for that, because it was like a 2 and done. So it's not like they're crying to death. So
they basically made a lot of money off of one movie that they split up.
Yeah, exactly. So now I'm kind of after Supergirl, and the fact that Corn Sweat Superman is in this, and it's it's not like they didn't make an effort to like link these things together, and this is part of like a machine that's meant to be an interconnected franchise. Now I'm kind of again, I don't do dollar. I will do like generalized. I think this will do well. I think this will do okay, etc. I don't.
That's what I'm.
I will not like Kane. Like I'm on the opposite side of William as far as like Kane predictions, but I won't predict. Okay, I think Kane's going to do 4. They do like John Wick 4 numbers. It's like I'll say I think it'll do well. That's where I'll keep it at. But with the Man of Tomorrow after this,
Kane's going to do less than Ballerina.
But after this, now, as far as like the prospects of Man of Tomorrow, like what I was saying earlier, I think it after Superman, I thought, okay, it's got a decent shot of like matching or surpassing Man of Steel, maybe even like flirting with BVS numbers. Like now, I would not write off it underperforming the first Superman.
It's hard to say. I mean, I don't want to put it because it's so far away, but yeah. But like I said, I think Kane. Right now, if the reasons I think that Ballerina didn't do well are what they are, it's safe to say that I think Kane does less than Ballerina.
Here's the other part of that you're not taking into account too. Like, what was one of the reasons you're listing for Ballerina? Like one of them is that it's a chick. Well, what does Donnie Yen have that Ana de Armas doesn't have it? And it's like, and I'm not saying that like to,
Wow.
to take. I'm not saying that like I like that. I'm not saying.
I got you, but I think that
I'm not.
is one of the reasons.
I'm not taking pleasure in that. I'm just saying.
I got what you said. I got it. All right, so that is one of the reasons I listed. I'm afraid that there's a primary reason that it is there, and that's because it's not John Wick.
I know somebody's gonna like take that and think like, oh, Brad, like that's. I listed Ballerina as my number one like period of 25. So
I every time I think of Ballerina, I think of what it didn't make, and I'm like, that's fucking just crazy. But unfortunately, I think Kane is going to do considerably less than Ballerina, and it's not. And I'm not saying that that's fair, that that's right. I just I just think those reasons that and the primary reason being that John Wick is what pushes that brand. He is the movie. He is for the John Wick fans. But all I'm asking for John Wick fans is just, dude. I mean, give it a chance. I mean, why didn't you give that movie a chance? Just what? For me, him being in it just for the 5 minutes he in, it tells you that fucking trailer told you enough to me. I'm not speaking for all John Wick fans. But that should have told you for me that there's enough of this movie, like the movies you like, to go see it, But those numbers, for what I think that for where the trajectory of John Wick fans were been taken on, I think Ballerina's numbers were awful. I think that, and I think that anything, and it wouldn't matter what it is, it wouldn't matter who's in it either. If you name me any John Wick universe project that doesn't have Keanu Reeves in it, and I think you're probably going to get, unfortunately, the same result, if not decreasing. I think it actually diminishes. So that's like I said. I clip it on this date, 6/28. If Kane comes out and does, really big numbers, I'll be happy for it, because who's going to go promote it and see it? Me. I'll be one of those few people that go see it because I enjoy the John Wick universe. That Continental wasn't.
I enjoyed the I don't put it on the same pedestal as the movies, but I enjoyed it for what it was.
The Continental gave me some insight to some things that the movies don't have a lot of time with. But as far as its pacing goes, I'm like, I tapped out a little bit. So.
Again, I know someone's gonna clip that on me where it's like, yeah, Brad, you're saying you like it, that Donnie Yen is gonna benefit from sexism. No, I'm not. I'm just saying.
No, it's just the truth, and I think that might help. But I think the overwhelming factor is the fact that John was not in the movie. If they are smart, they really should come out and do two things. I have a big present. I still think they're going to. Well, I'm gonna tell you this, guys. I'm gonna tell you this, because last year it was 2 weeks before anybody got.
If they don't have it now, do they have time to plan it? I mean, because it's
Marvel.
It's not even like a month. It's like 3 weeks now.
San Diego convention, the Comic-Con International will make space for them, and I'm not real sure whether they're 100%. I haven't read anything. Lanterns comes out 3 weeks after Comic-Con. If they're not there with those individuals, what the fuck are we doing? Lanterns comes out, even if you don't want to hype Supergirl, that's fine. You think it's a bomb and it's too far away. That's fine, whatever. Lanterns, an HBO show on Sunday night, comes out 3 weeks later. You need to be there, even if that's the only thing that you got to show. And it's not, because you should be making announcements at that point and getting people jazzed. So I have to look it up and see what their plans are for because the panels and stuff haven't been released yet. So, they have time to make their decisions, and, who knows how far. They may already have their decision made and we just don't know about it. I don't know. But if they're not there, I listen, remember, I took a lot of shit for saying that they should have been there in 2024. Because who else were? And they didn't even started shooting their movie yet. Fantastic Four left Comic-Con 2024 to go fly to London and shoot their movie. And they brought concept footage with them.
That's the other side of it. Gunn is in the middle of Man of Tomorrow right now.
Don't fucking care.
Well, yeah, but and under normal stance, ordinarily I would concur, but also, he didn't take a day off to go to the first meeting with Ellison.
Well, that's not. That's called avoiding somebody. Here's the thing, though. And then I hear people, well, they can't afford it. Comic-Con is expensive. I'm like, don't make these movies if you can't afford to support them. If you are making movies, part of that budget that you borrow or get financed, promoting the movie on all levels, it better be part of that budget or don't make the movie. You're wasting your time and everybody's money. If you make a knockout movie, but you can't increase the bandwidth or the signal, then you're wasting everybody's time. You're cheating your investors. So I don't want to hear that, well, maybe they can't afford to do it. It's too expensive. Then don't fucking make the movies. Once you've decided you're making the movies, you're deciding you're promoting the movies, or you're ripping off everybody involved. All those people putting in that hard-ass work for you to put out a great movie, a kick-ass movie, and then there's no momentum for it going into the theater? No. So as far as that goes, find it. You borrowed the money to make the movie, borrowed that same check, that same ask, it comes from that. So I can't think of any reason why they won't be there. If they're not, then we're going to have some questions, So, yeah. But as far as the bat, listen, I already think we're too late with the bat. I think the doors are locked already, but I think that as soon as you can get the bat out there, even if you got to add a post-credit scene, if it's a post-credit scene where it's just, I don't care. All right, Clayface is done. You already got the film locked. You don't have to add him in it. Show me Matt Hagen gets arrested. He's going to prison or something, whatever happens, right? And I'm sitting in Wayne Manor. I'm sitting in the Batcave. I'm watching the news clip of Matt Hagen, whatever happened to him. And then Alfred comes in. Don't even have to show me Alfred. You just show me a butler with a dome thing with some food or some wine for him. And you don't even need to show. All you show me is the back of the chair. Master Wayne, Master Bruce. I bought you some whatever. That's it. Bam, there you go.
Yeah, that's I think the most likely thing is it. I mean, not to make this. It's not like a 1-to-1, but I mean, I think if they're adding something like that right now, it's like it will be like in the vein of like the from the neck down, like Superman Shazam cameo.
Yeah, but that was a shit show. But yeah,
exactly. There was different reasons for that, but
different reasons. But now when we start rolling with trailers with Man of Tomorrow, I'm sorry, that Batman needs to be known to us, casted, and even if no matter what amount he's in that movie, that motherfucker needs to be there, and he needs to be on toys. He needs to be part of the conversation. I just got to do it. I hope they do. So yeah, I agree with you a little bit under RJ. Comic-Con doesn't help. Everybody loving a trailer at Comic-Con has no real world measurement of success. Yeah, it does. It does, especially the last 3 or 4 years, because especially now with each year YouTube getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and live streaming becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. We've had it for 5 or 6 years now, but each year, like when I was sitting in 2024, I was sitting, watching Robert Downey Jr. take off that mask. That reached every outlet out there. That got the conversation going because everybody is focused on that particular 4 days. So it does help. It helps tremendously.
Have they said anything about like the Downey reveal, like how far in advance was that planned? Or
6 months.
So 6 months they knew he was going to be Dr. Doom, and okay.
Yeah, because the guy who was doing the help was helping out with another booth because he had been part of the staff, and they were doing the coordination for Comic-Con 6 months in advance. And I asked him, I'm like, hey, I remember seeing you at the thing. So I think Comic-Con, now, does Comic-Con alone help? No, but Comic-Con does help. Now, it should be Comic-Con and a whole bunch of other things. Comic-Con should be where the conversation is started, or New York, whatever, or, SXB, whatever platform you want to use. But since I'm using Comic-Con because Comic-Con is a month away. That's the next big one coming up. It can't be the totality. But loving it, we're not just talking about loving a trailer. We're talking about, we don't even have to have a trailer at Comic-Con. If you know who your Batman is, you have them come out. Listen, Dr. Doom, they announced Dr. Doom in 2024. We're not getting a movie till later on this year. That's 2 years ago.
And even then, they had not only had Dr. Doom, but had the band they cast as Dr. Doom.
Yeah.
In a faceless, I still can't get my head around like why they didn't show his face. It's like if it had been a double, I would have understood. But it's like if it's RDJ, he's playing the character in subsequent appearances. I just don't understand what the thinking was behind that.
There has to be something where his face looks like something that they didn't want to reveal yet, but who knows. I'm talking about making announcements about the future to get people excited. Yeah, casting budget. Yeah, because we take that and then we run with it in a whole bunch of different places. So
we got a super chat from Rational. William, maybe they don't want to announce DCU Batman to not overshadow the Batman Part 2, which releases next year. No. Unless Matt Reeves is going to be there at that Comic-Con, then that shouldn't matter at all. Because you can't be worried about overshadowing one or the other. They're the same company, and you're putting out movies from the same company. Now, if the Batman were coming out, this year, or the Batman was part of it. Now, if the Batman is part of the panel, you want to put some space, that's fine. But if the Batman is not going to be part of SDD, San Diego Comic-Con 2026, then no, that shouldn't matter, because the promotion for those movies are going to be staggered. You're going to release Babe and the Bold on a year that the Batman is not, and you're going to release the Batman on a year that the Babe and the Bold is not, so that you don't siphon your signal when it comes to those. Not necessarily confusing people, because I think people are smart enough to figure that out. It's a resource thing. You don't want to waste resources. You're wasting resources trying to distinguish yourself while you have something else out, when you can just put that out on a different year. Well, there's the other thing too with Batman Part 2 that I've said is that right now it's set for October 27. It's not. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that might get rescheduled to sometime in 28.
I think that is now. I think that movie's definitely coming out now. Now that production has begun. All the delays of the Batman came pre-production. I think now that cameras have started rolling, I don't think there's any chance it doesn't make it. I mean, anything could happen. He could trip and get, have a snowplow run him over or something like that, and have to, Matt Reeves have to spend 2 months on that. Anything can happen. But now that the production is actually in motion, and we're people are where they're supposed to be.
When we get set photos or anything of that, because it's been 2 weeks they're into it now or something.
You're probably about a month and a half to 2 months away from set photos for that. But I don't think that that's the reason why the Batman for your DCU should not be in there, because there's ways to market that to get the benefit out of both versions of Batman. You just have to time things. Right with it. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Thank you for the continued support, Rational Skeptic. Avengers Infinity War positioned Captain Marvel to succeed with that post-credit scene, teasing her involvement in Endgame. Supergirl wasn't really set up to feel important. Yeah. It shouldn't have been the number 2 movie. I'm sorry. It should not have been the second movie out of this.
Well, but that's the thing I keep mentioning is that in the slate, the chronology of the slate as it was announced, it's Brave and the Bold came first. So why that got,
because James Gunn's philosophy of the whole script thing. And I'm like, I can understand. I sort of understand why. Well, I want the quality script first. All right, then if your Batman script isn't quality, you need to get everybody on board, everybody who's working on anything, to focus on that project and speed that project to get it to where you want to. Because Supergirl coming out because you didn't like the script for any of the other stuff doesn't mean anything to the layman that once they saw the S. That brain function has been working for 80 years now with several different generations. If they see the S, I don't care if it's comic books. 1938, well, less than a year and a half, there was a bat, and from that point on, there's been. I don't care if it's a Super Friends. I don't care if it's shitty stuff, good stuff. The S brings the bat, and the bat brings the S. That is what the general public wants, not Supergirl. Sorry, but yeah, gotcha. Supergirl, I think, because you could take Supergirl as is and put it after a Wonder Woman or a Batman movie, or both of those movies, and people are going to give you the benefit of the doubt. They may not have liked it, but they're going to be like, you know what? 4 of the 5 things you've given me have been really on point. All right, well, I'm not going anywhere. But this one would be like half of your output has been one Supergirl and one Superman. K-Face Infinite, it can't be marketed as a standalone horror movie that's not a part of any cinematic universe. It can. And that's why its success, its numbers aren't going to really mean much to me in regards to the DCU. Oh, wow. I would love to see what William would say if he ran into Tommy American, Kevin Teixeira, and Jeff Bewigs. Well, unless we were having a conversation about film and the actual their decision making in regards to Warner Brothers and DCEU, I would just say, "Hey, how you doing?" and I would just keep walking. But if we were sitting at a coffee table and like I was being interviewed, or I were interviewing them, or I was in my press outlet, I was and then we would have a completely different. I'd have a lot of questions. I would have a lot of questions, but it would be basically a shit fest because I know they gave us the reasons why they did what they did. I just didn't agree with them. I thought they were shitty. They told me who they were years ago. I knew that these people. It would be pointless because I know why they did what they did, and I also know, and I think they know that they weren't qualified to be in the positions they were in relationships to these IPs. I think everybody realizes that now, and I think even Zazoff, to his credit, even though he's done some really crazy, shady shit at times, even he knew that he didn't know what he didn't know, and he immediately got somebody who did. That's the forethought that none of these people that you listed had. And I don't think. I also think these people weren't professionals because you left out Ann Sarnoff. These people weren't professionals, and they took out. They in their operation of the franchise, they were reacting to things that some shitty fans said to them on Twitter, or some shitty fan voice singer. You know what? That's a fan space to be a shithead. It's like if you're, it's like if you're at a ball game and you're in the enemy, in the enemy field, people are going to boo and they're going to talk about your mom. I don't care. You're getting paid millions of dollars to hit that ball or get it into the end zone. You do your job. Forget about what the shitty fans do, and they just couldn't do that. They used their response to shitty fans to guide them, and that's not professional. And that shows lack of faith in your own abilities, and that shows just lack of ability. So, but they're never going to listen to that from me. I would tell them that, but I would be like, why the fuck are you a person?
I told them that and worse.
They would probably just toss you out, like they would toss me out. But I'm like, I would ask you, some of you are here making $1 million a year. Some of you making more than that. Some of you at the very least are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. You're at the head of an executive, you're working in executive office and making multi-million-dollar movies. Why do you give a fuck what some shithead on Twitter says about you, or some shithead on Twitter criticizes you? Big deal. Put on your grown man pants or panties and do your fucking job. And obviously we all know from being in this discourse, some of the people don't know how to handle themselves. They don't know how to act in public or online. Doesn't matter what they say. Your job is your job, period. You should not be responding to trolls.
I think they were also being very spiteful, not just for the discourse of fans, but also I think a lot of their decision making, like as of the, I know you're like the point you're referring to when the infamous Sarnoff interview. I think as of that point, they a lot of their decision was being guided by spite towards not just Zack Snyder, but also to Ray Fisher. Like I think they really were butthurt by like Ray really standing his ground on the behind the scenes stuff and really holding their feet to the fire for that, and that put a lot of public PR pressure on them.
And most of that even at the time with the group of shitheads, because even Hamada at that point, none of the people that were involved when she said that were even with Emmerich. That he came in, he wasn't even a part of that. As far as he was 2 levels up. So you're talking about a guy who had been dismissed already and already on his own purgatory. So I don't even see why they took the Ray Fisher stuff seriously. I'd have been like, okay, file your lawsuit, do your thing. I'm not responding to you. I'm not letting you. Professionals don't let shit like that. That's what they got lawyers for. So the fact that they got caught up in their own ass about Ray Fisher, that's what your lawyers are for. If you think he's saying something that's going to hurt you or ruin you and you don't think it has any base, you need to sue him. But you do your job. Your job is to make fucking movies, not to get caught up in what Ray Fisher is saying or what kind of movement he's saying. Your job is to make movies, period. Not respond to trolls, not to get caught up, not to do things out of spite. That tells me, and it doesn't matter what your job is. If your job is a professional anything, you do your fucking job. You leave the trolls to feed on each other. That's what they're there for. So, and if there's something like the Ray Fisher situation, you literally have a legal department that's as large as big as some states, and you let them handle it. You do your job. They couldn't do their job, and that's the biggest indictment I got against those guys. I would have loved. Okay, yeah. So we just ran. I don't know if that conversation would be pleasant. The most shocking thing coming out of this is that Anna Nagura completely misunderstood the ending of the comic. That part I thought was a little bit shocking. I wasn't expecting that ending.
Yeah,
Thinking Ruthie killed Krim, hence changing it. Yeah. And we don't have to have it being, well, it's because it's not directly from the comic. No, within the rules. I always judge people by the rules of the show that they're doing and the format what I'm watching. Within the rules that you set at the beginning of that movie and throughout that movie, that totally just cut my cord. I'm like, well, wait a minute. You just said vengeance is wrong. Even if you don't let her do it, your beliefs and hanging around Clark and developing his moral sense of his moral compass, your beliefs that you have shown me throughout this movie says that what you just did is not consistent. That's a problem. So yeah.
Yeah, RJ, it's funny you should say that because again, the fact that she at that in an interview and kind of like publicly sort of revealed a little, some not a less than not the grasp on like I guess the story this was based on that you would have wanted or expected. I thought back to you're gonna laugh at this one. That thing made me think back to it was during the 2016 election. It was there was this one ad or something, some kind of interview where it was a staffer on the Clinton campaign, and you could tell they did this because they just kind of Googled like Game of Thrones, like a popular show. Let's find a way to kind of tie that into the Clinton campaign. And this ad said something to the effect of Hillary Clinton would be like the strongest, a strong leader, just like Cersei Lannister from Game of Thrones. And you just see that and go, oh, somebody did not do their homework. Somebody got fired for that. Somebody definitely got fired for that ad.
Yeah, it's just yeah, like you have Gunn and the guy who wrote the comic. For all we know, in all fairness, guys, we don't know anything. Tom King could have stood up and said, I disagree with this. I don't think this is what we should do. But Tom King was an advisor. If Gillespie said this is what makes my movie work, and he cleared it with Gunn, then that's different. I wouldn't have done that because just forget about the source material. Based on the movie that you are showing me now, what she did wasn't consistent with what she was evolving into. So, and then you bring in Clark Kent, you bring in these hopeful Superman that you are getting your earthbound set of morals from, along with your parents who are some pretty swell people. That is inconsistent with any of this. I'm sure they're not up in heaven saying, get it, gut his ass. Clark was like, what the fuck are you doing? And she seemed to share that was a hybrid of her moral set. So I thought that, but by that time I'd already checked out the movie anyway. But by the time we got to that, I was shocked when she because I thought she was going to come up to him and like hit him with the sword or, to hit him with the butt, knock him out, something like that, or let Crypto, chew on his dick or something. I don't know. But which Crypto does chew on some guy's dick in the movie, not as graphic.
Yes, that does. Down. Which, funnily enough, that's like, because the whole dog in danger thing. That's gotten us some comparison to John Wick, and then there's also that angle of it that has a bit of a John Wick basis.
Yeah, it's just crazy. So for all I know, Tom King didn't have a lot of authority. He's the producer, but he's more of an advisor. It's Gillespie, the writer, and ultimately James Gunn, who read the script. It may not be a James Gunn direct movie, but he wrote the script. So another reason for Supergirl is that she needed for a man tomorrow due to the Superman phone call saying, "I needed your help with the last guy. I always would need your help." Okay, I actually I'm not the biggest fan. I think David Cornsweet Superman is fine for the story that James Gunn is telling. He's growing on me though. I'll give you that. He grew a little bit more on me in this movie. He's very likable, and he just seemed very caring about seeing her development because he knew what he went through. So
I'm still every time it's no slight against David himself, but just like every time he's on screen, I just see Dewey Riley with a cape.
I don't know who Dewey Riley is. So
for Scream.
Oh, Dewey. David. Okay.
Yeah.
No. Fuck this.
Yes.
No. What the-
No, he is. No,
Wow.
his Superman is so doltish, so socially awkward. He's just, yeah.
Well, that's what he's supposed to be by design. So,
You know,
William excitement for Lanterns makes me fly. It's just these people. I could be setting myself up for a massive disappointment, but these particular people involved in this haven't let me down in a long time. And depending on how you view Lost, listen. There are some people who enjoyed the ending of Lost or enjoyed the last 2 or 3 years of Lost. I wasn't one of them, but that's not going to take away from Leftovers. That's not going to take away from Watchmen, which I consider the best TV show, DC TV show done, period, on any channel, anywhere. That's not going to take away the fact that the influences on these things are some of the things I love about HBO and HBO Max, like True Detective, and the fact that I love HBO's mainline shows. So I know that there's a standard there that I'm looking forward to, and I don't think with so many of those factors involved, I don't think there's a way that this is going to disappoint me. It could happen, but I don't think so. So I am heavily looking forward to Lanterns. He gave descriptions and the things of when he released all this and the descriptions and who was working on them. I just didn't care. I just didn't care about any of those. But when he told me who was working on Lanterns and how it was going to be and where it was going to air, I'm like, you had me. And I've been waiting patiently, enduring all of this other stuff. Now we're getting closer and closer and closer, and I'm happy. I think they didn't adapt the comic one to cater to girls 14 and under. Okay, you just cut a guy's throat and stuck a fucking sword in his heart. Where are we being safe here?
She kills him. That's the other thing about it. She is this. This is also why I better never hear any more complaints about Superman killing Zod. She kills him slow. She's like, here's one for this, and here's one for this.
I don't know who this movie was made for, to be honest with you. I could have told you that if it was the 5th movie in, but I can't tell you now. William, what's your thoughts on Jared Leto being barred to going to the main conference, considering people...
The He-Man conference.
I didn't hear that from a source that I care about, so I don't...
Yeah.
I highly doubt, and I will know, I highly doubt that any press tour is going to ban a co-star of the movie when you're talking about an Academy Award winner level, regardless of what people on the internet think about Jared Leto. He is that level of actor. I hear about these things, but it's always in the periphery and from people who I wouldn't believe me if they told me I had 2 feet in front of me. Right now.
Have you seen Masters of the Universe yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he is actually very good at Skeletor in it.
Yeah, he's very he's and the whole movie was where it needed to be tonally wise. I mean that whole thing with the whole laughing meme where they're all laughing and doing that same shitty meme that I've been watching for there. I thought that was hilarious. But I think G.I. Joe needs to take a page. This film should have
apparently
released.
Well, I was just gonna say apparently Amazon is like gonna do a Masters of the Universe, but again, it's like you can't compare exactly to DC and Warner Brothers because again Amazon has got
Amazon DC is
the money they've got.
Well, that and the purpose that DC makes, when Warner Brothers DC makes movies for profit. Amazon makes movies to get you to Amazon.com. This film should have released in early May, and I'm going to go even. I'm talking years down the line. This movie should have been released. I don't know. I just don't know if it was a decent movie. I think we're having a different conversation.
That's another thing too. Like this, Spider-Man coming out because one thing I've seen a lot of some commentary and consternation on, and this is like is kind of revived the idea of like, is this like the superhero fatigue? Is this like the superhero genre like circling the drain? It's like Spider-Man in a month is going to come out and laugh in the face of all of that.
Yeah, and good comic book movies make good money.
Yeah.
We're not in a comic book fatigue movie. We're in a mediocrity. When you release mediocre shit, then people just get tired of it. When you release top tier shit, people come out. You're about to see, and if Avengers Doomsday does what I think it will, you're about to see a very good month for Marvel and Sony, or a very good few months for Marvel and Sony.
sawn off John McFord personally ended the franchise for me. I'm sure Ballerina was going to. Yeah, I dug shit at Ballerina. Here's and I think RJ he had one here where he's talking about he thinks that they might shift to animated. It's because they have formally greenlit John Wick 5, but they're also kind of like taking a little bit of like a breather on it. It's just Stahelski's doing Highlander and whatnot, and they're and Keanu's. He said he's been. I mean, contrary to outward appearances, Keanu does in fact age. This is what I would kind of how I've envisioned. Yeah, this is RJ's comment on that. How I've kind of envisioned Wick 5, which that probably will be the formal, like the proper finale of the proper Wick franchise. As I really would love it if what it involves, like it's got Wick. And it's kind of like a team up, almost like a Fast Five kind of thing, where he has Kane, he has Eve Macaro, and he has Winston, he has like all of his allies, rounds them all up and says, okay, we're taking down the high table, and it ends with him like the new head of the high table. Basically, that's kind of like where I would envision. That's how I would do it if I was making John Wick 5. I'm not, but that's kind of where I'm kind of like that would be my dream scenario for how they kind of. The finale of John Wick 4 of John Wick 5.
You're paraphrasing this, RJ, because I was actually sent the article. He said if it were up to him. So first thing we need to get out the way is it's not up to Tom Holland. All right. So did you see Tom Holland say in an interview today that he was working on plans to introduce? He's an actor. He's not a producer, or not on that level. He's not the showrunner. He's not Kevin Feige. It has zero. Tom Holland has zero effect on whenever we get Tom Holland. And to the MCU by the end of the new trilogy, he says he's in active talks to get it done. He has no authority to be in talks with anyone. The only people that have the authority to be in active talks with anyone are Kevin Feige, Disney, Marvel Studios, and Sony. Those are the only people who would be in that conversation. He may be brought in just as a hey, look what we have, look at a guest. All right, so I'm going to answer this the same way. And Phil, by the way, sent me this article first. Once again, Tom Holland doesn't have shit to say about that. But two, this doesn't bother me like it would have bothered me a few years ago, the more I think about it. Now, if this happens, it's going to happen towards the end of Tom Holland's run as Spider-Man. And if that happens, that's the appropriate time where Miles Morales meets him, as far as him being a mentor. That's one thing. Second thing is the MCU, the Clutterverse that he was introduced in 2014 is not the same universe that we're getting post Secret Wars. We're getting a slimmed down universe that is more than likely going to revolve around Spider-Man, the remaining Spider-Man movies, Fantastic Four, and X-Men. Probably more X-Men than any of these other things. So we're not talking about a convoluted universe where, Spider-Man is sitting on the lap of Tony Stark as some kind of mentor. Now, if Spider-Man, Miles Morales, is going to have a mentor, the only mentor I want for him is an older Spider-Man or an experienced Spider-Man that's thinking about hanging it up or about to get killed. Tom Holland, by the time you reach a third movie with Tom Holland, you're talking 6 years away from now. Tom Holland will be like 36, 37 years old. He may still look young, but as far as chronologically, if you were going to do a Miles Morales crossover, that would be when you do it. So I'm not, that doesn't bother me like it would years ago. The one thing that really does need to maintain a spot is that Sony owns theatrical Spider-Man. It is they're the ones that get final say so of what can be done with him or any of the characters that they own. If Lord and Miller, and by the time this comes out, Lord and Miller and crew and the people who work under them will have released the third and final Spider-Verse movie, and there's a good chance that one out of that trilogy you could have two of those three movies as Oscar winners. So those guys, know how to tell a Spider-Man story. If we are going to do anything with the MCU, Sony needs to maintain that leash as far as how they want that character perceived. And I think there's a better chance of that going forward than there was when people just wanted to shove Miles Morales into the MCU. just for no reason. Just I think of it because they figured that the MCU at that point was shitting platinum and could do no wrong. And that was never the case to begin with. But I am more comfortable with it years down the line because of the achievements and the investment that Sony will have put into him at that point, and the infrastructure that should follow him anywhere he goes. Now, obviously, it would be a working relationship, but I think that Sony should maintain control of the character, even if they are working with the MCU. They own the character. It's any movie that Miles Morales is going to be in, especially if it's a solo movie, are Sony movies. Now, as far as him being used in the MCU like Spider-Man was, which wasn't good for me, you're not dealing with that same universe. And you're dealing with a much smaller universe. You're dealing with fantastic. You're dealing with, and by that time, if you were to seamlessly hand Miles Morales off, and or Peter Parker was to hang it up, and Miles Morales is the Spider-Man, then he is now a main character in a much smaller universe than the one that they built up. So, Tom Holland doesn't have any fucking say. I don't know. I mean, that he even said the quote. If you look at the articles, that if it were up to me, it's not. Whatever plans he has on working to introduce Miles Morales is irrelevant because he has no authority and he has no status to do so. And from what I've always heard is Kevin Feige has asked Sony about Miles Morales, and they said flat out no. So, not saying that it can't happen in the future, but if it does, it will be under circumstances that I don't fear anymore. I don't think we're going to have Iron Boy Jr. I don't think we're going to have, Spider-Man Peter Parker being upstaged by a dead guy's glasses. I don't think we're going to have that. I think the blueprint of how to tell a Miles Morales story has been told, and I think that that's what we would get from no matter who's handling them. So there you go. Did you see? Yeah, they're going to counter all in. It's not going to matter. Listen, guys, TNA tried to counter program AEW. If you don't have the product that people want to see, then to me, I could care if Triple H wants to put it right on All In. It's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. It's not going to matter because All In is shaping up to be an all-time. And this what we've been talking about with WWE has been lackluster. So if I'm Tony Khan, I'm like, go ahead. What that tells me about WWE is they can stop lying about AEW being a factor because they're lying now. Okay, we're almost at the end. Why do you think young girls and women aren't going to see superhero movies catered to them? Because in order for them to go, they have to be taken by their parents, and if their parents don't care about it, there's a good chance that they're not taking their kids to it. It's a problem with marketing, or do women at large just not care about these characters? Well, no, I don't think that's true, and I think we kind of hit on this earlier in the stream. They took those characters to go see Wonder Woman. They took those characters to go see Captain Marvel. It wasn't a good movie. If it is not a derivative character, I don't think a Wonder Woman movie is going to have any problem drawing. But if you came out and said, let's do Wonder Girl, we're going to have issues. I don't think a Batman movie is going to have a problem. But if you do a Batgirl movie, you're going to have issues. Which, for the life of me, I would have loved to kick over the chair in the office in the Hamadaverse that said, let's do Batgirl. I would have been like, do we need to do a blood test for you? Do we need to do a breathalyzer? Because you're out of your mind. But I think there are enough examples to where if it's an A-list character, if instead of Supergirl, we're talking about Wonder Woman, I think there's just a different approach. People, especially DC people, even if they're not DC fans, there's a built-in expectation of who's supposed to come and win. And if you don't meet those expectations, you run the risk of mediocrity, and that's a problem. I mean, you don't do yourself a service by doing it that way. I think Ballerina movie's biggest issue was excessive focus on the main character was a girl, when most people just wanted The girl kicking ass for a reason.
Well, you get an abundance of the girl kicking ass. I mean, it's like
that's a strength, actually, wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just
And again, it's like William. Anyone who's seen the movie will agree. It's like Ballerina is not short on the girl in question kicking ass.
If DC goes to FCCC, they should be careful about no. Okay, I'm gonna say absolutely not. I'm gonna say absolutely not for one key reason. I have 1,000 reasons that just jumped into my head, Jalen. Blade is not Batman. Blade is not Batman. If you're talking about the difference between stepping to the plate and announcing the plans for what is essentially a nuclear reactor in regards to your franchise, and bringing up a character that at best is an F-lister. At best is an F-lister in the modern world. All right, now Blade is not a derivative character, but he's actually worse when it comes to Marvel. He's a guest character. So you can't equate, if you step up to the plate and you don't get Blade, fucking cares. If you step up and announce a Spider-Man movie and you don't do it, okay, now we have some shockwaves. But I don't think they need to be careful if they know who it is. You know for a fact that you're getting a Batman movie. If they're allowed to continue in the contracts and all that, that's different conversation. But if this keeps going, you're getting a Batman movie. You have to have a Batman movie. I don't know if I'm getting a Blade movie, and we don't have to have one. The MCU is not we've done just fine with Blade being announced and never getting it. Who fucking cares? Batman, different conversation. Totally different conversation. So no, I gotta disagree with you there. Son off. Now I don't want another Eternals Blade or Fantastic Four post credit scene. If they show DC as Blade and decide. Well, yeah, I would go as far as you need to go. Get the conversation centered around one of the biggest things, the biggest seller that you have. I mean, as soon as possible. You said everyone loved Fantastic Four at Comic-Con. What happened at the box office? It made $550 million. It's not doing Supergirl numbers. Fantastic Four did, that Fantastic Four did what they wanted it and what they needed it to do. And I explained this even before the movie came out. I'm on record. I'm on its own show. So Fantastic Four did 521. Now, here's the one thing that you have to realize about Fantastic Four is that when they released Fantastic Four, what did you have out there that had been creating the momentum for Marvel? Nothing, really. You didn't have anything like that, and people had drifted away because we've already explained when it comes to Marvel, they had their A-listers. Now, Fantastic Four is a pretty big name, but you released Fantastic Four with nothing else. I mean, you had Thunderbolts earlier in the year, but Thunderbolts, even though Thunderbolts is a great movie, it didn't draw what it could have drawn because nobody knew who the fuck they were. So your lead-in movie to Fantastic Four is Thunderbolts, and your lead-in movie to Thunderbolts was movies like Captain America, Brave New World, which wasn't a very good movie. So it's not what happened to Fantastic Four at the box office, it's what was happening to Marvel at the box office. And for more movies than just that, because guess what? When we bring out the steak when Spider-Man, and we plan for some more steak in Doomsday, we're not looking at these types of numbers. And when you do another Fantastic Four movie, after you've reset this universe, after you've had a couple more of these movies come out, I guarantee you Fantastic Four is going to do a lot better than First Steps did, because First Steps was released in a pretty much a swamp of nothingness when it comes to the expectations of MCU. And I didn't see anybody who saw Fantastic Four that I know of, or promo or anything else that didn't like it. But Marvel itself, the MCU, and a lot of that has to do with a lot of stuff, secret invasion. I mean, there's a lot that Fantastic Four, and it still made $521 million. And the fact that they were going to be heavily featured alongside those A-listers, you're going to see a different number. I think DC will do SSC Lanterns trailer, Clayface trailer, probably some news from. Yeah, I mean they definitely have a lot to say. I think they should be there. It's just me. They had Dr. Doom, the baby napper at F4 post-credit scene. Yeah. If that alone, if Robert Downey Jr. would have been a little bit more in that movie or turned his head, I also think that's a little bit more money too. I don't know how much more, but if Robert Downey, because that's him, so turn his head with the baby and be like, or turn his head, hey, what's up, Sue, or whatever, Don't even need to talk, Oh well. William Brad, general audience goes to watch Man of Tomorrow and Batman Part 2 trailer. It shows they're probably not going to do that. You're probably not going to do that. But shows before the film and during the film, they see DCU Batman. Will it be different action? No. A, I don't think fans are that fucking dumb. 2. B, I don't think they would do this because you're cannibalizing your own ad effort. You're now when you spend money on your advertisement, you want it to be singularly focused on what you're doing or what it's leading to. So because you don't want to spread that bandwidth, you don't want to water down the bandwidth. So no, I don't think fans are stupid enough to get confused. And if you think your fans are stupid enough, guess what you do as a storyteller? You up your game and make sure that people know the distinctions in between one another. But I don't think they will release them like that, Rational. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. Brad, your favorite journalist, Tatiana Siegel, works for Rupert Murdoch's tabloid newspaper. So,
I wasn't aware of that.
How the hell was Cornstarch Superman supposed to conquer the world on his Kryptonian behalf, and he's losing fights left and right? That's you have to ask James Gunn on that one. Stop hiring writers that don't know anything about comics. Get them out. What? Tom King literally writes comics. And you don't need... This is the one thing I think the biggest mistake fans make is you think that somebody either has to know anything about comics or love comics. They do not need neither in order to do their jobs. You know what they really need to be able to do? They need to be able to make good movies. They need to be able to write good screenplays, regardless of whether they know about a comic or not. They need to be able to perform at the theatrical and studio level before anything, because there are people out there. I've seen some horrible movies that are done by people who are fans, and it doesn't matter. They don't have to love comics. They don't have to even know about comics. They need to know their director, the producer, James Gunn, who does know comics, and the advisor that's sitting next to him, Tom King, who does know comics. They need to be able to impart what they need on that screenplay writer, whether they're a comic book fan or know about comics or not. A story is a story. You need to know how to make a good movie first. Supergirl wasn't a good movie. It could have been made by people who know comics and love comics. Just because you love or know comics doesn't mean you're going to be able to make a good movie. We have plenty of examples of all that. So yeah, I don't. I'm not going to limit my hiring of somebody because they don't know comics. My first qualifications are you a good screenwriter? Or are you a good writer? Or are you a good whatever? Because guess what? Once I hire you, if you can't do the basic jobs, and I'm going to fire you anyway. Once I hire you based on those qualifications, then if you want to delve into that as part of your research, you can. But it should have no bearing on whether you can write a story or not. That's the basic requirement of your job. That's just my opinion. Spider-Verse is the best Spider-Man. Now that I agree. My top two. But I will call bullshit on the leading in live action movies. I want them to, but my top two Spider-Man movies are those movies, and with Spider-Man 2 being third. Keep Miles Morales away from MCU. It's going to ruin his character. That was my basic initial premise, but I think by the time we get to him, and we were years down the line, I think you might be weird. I think it's going to be a lot sooner, people, but. If it happens at all, I think it's going to happen under the tighter control of Sony than they allowed with Marvel MCU. I think you're in a different place with Miles Morales by the time he comes out as you. Sony has spent 14, 15 years with developing Miles Morales on several different platforms, accessible platforms. So I think they're going to have a lot of say in it. And if it's not forced, I'll give it a shot. But I think that we're so far away from that right now that it's not even. You're talking about towards the end of Tom Holland's trilogy. So you're taking maybe 2 years down the line for there to be a third one, and even still, he's not going to be in it completely. He'd probably be in a post-credit scene, and then you're talking about even even more time after that. So as we get closer to that, maybe I'll leave. But right now, I'll just say this: I don't have as big an issue with it going forward between 3 to 6 years now than I would if this were happening 3 or 4 years ago. Well, I watched the interview where Paul Heyman was going to have a new contract with TNA, where he was going to get rid of wrestlers over 40. Makes me wonder how the product would be right now. I don't know. Some of the best wrestlers in the world are in their 40s. This isn't like the 80s where you got 40 and you started losing it. Kenny Omega just wrestled one of the best matches I've seen in 2 years. He's 41. Edge and Christian are 53, respectively, and they just wrestled a kick-ass match. If you're using modern science and modern medicine and you're keeping, I'm not saying roids, but just the stuff that you can get from GNC, and you're exercising, keeping yourself in shape, and you can still go, then I don't think you should be gotten rid of. Your body, when it comes to professional anything, when you're an athlete, your body will tell you when it's time to go. I don't think Paul Heyman or a promoter should, unless he doesn't have any use for the end of that character. Let's keep Miles Morales away from the MCU. Like I said, that would be my top preference, but I don't feel as let's see. William, it's the movie theaters. It's the movie theaters to decide upcoming trailers get played. Yeah, but they actually have to have the players, Rational. They have trailers. They actually have to have the trailers. If they had the trailers and they decided to do that, that's one thing. But the DC and WB are not going to give them those trailers, so they won't be able to play trailers that they don't have. We'll most likely see a Batman Part 2 trailer before a match tomorrow on this Batman Part 2 basis. Yeah, but I think they're going to stagger. I got what you're saying, but I think they're going to stagger them now. All right, let's see. Well, not necessarily preloaded excuses. You just have other revenue streams. I don't have to be 100% on everything and on my projection. If I can justify to my investors that I got different places to get your money back or to make your profit, that's not an excuse. That's just math. That's the reading. Some people don't like streaming. That's too fucking bad. I mean, people like money. The people who invested in this money don't care whether you like streaming or not because they know you're going to watch it. And PVOD, they know they're going to get their money back there. It's not necessarily preloaded excuses. It's preset revenue streams. Most of these movies are having their streaming and PVOD. They may not be announced to you or the general public, but I would take a fair guess that a large percentage of these movies, in order for them to get greenlit, have that backdoor way to make the money in order to get that money from the investor or the lender. They're going to be like, okay, what's your path to get our money back? And if you have a back end of a PVOD where they get 70% of the revenue, or subscribe, anything like that, then they're going to be like, okay, our money is safe with you. We're going to lend it to you. We see a path for you to get our interest and our money, and we can make our profit. So it's not necessarily an excuse, but there's just other ways to make money off a movie these days. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah, now I feel old. I am old, but damn. Williams to Batman Part 2 opening with a disclaimer saying, yeah, I don't think I think that Batman Part 2, from the point you see anything to do with it, should have that Elseworlds logo. We did a show about maybe a year ago. I think you were with me. Where I think Elseworlds should be as far as any of this, where James Gunn should be branding us before you even know about these different universes. James Gunn and DCU should be branding you of what Elseworlds is, so that when it comes, it's a lot. You already have a mechanism in your mind to accept it, especially if you're the general audience. So yeah. I think that it shouldn't be a disclaimer, but it should be a logo. And then when people say, well, what's that logo? That means, hey, and I'm sitting next to you, Comic Geek, that means this is a different world from the one that you may have known. Easy explanation. I can fucking teach a dog to walk over to the bowl that has the Elseworld signal on it. I think human beings will be able to figure it out, and you just I think that's a big miss right now for them, is that they know they have the Batman coming out. They know that the Batman is not in their universe. I think they should be branding Elseworlds now so that fits right in, and it also gives you license to do something, because you know what, James Gunn may want to do something that's not doesn't fit with his DCU, but he wants to do it. Then you create Elseworlds for it. So yeah. All right, guys, that's where I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Wow, we went 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I said an hour and a half. I'm failing at time management these days. Most of you guys that are watching have not subscribed, so please subscribe. It helps the channel out, helps our algorithm, does all that stuff. Like, subscribe, share, do all those things. I do not know. Tuesday, we're going to be back on the air, and Tuesday we're going to wrap up. I think it's the last 2 episodes of. Is it the last 2 episodes of Spider-Man? Yeah, so because we did just in number 6. So we're episodes 7 and 8 will happen this coming Tuesday night. After the rest of the week rolls out, I'll let you guys know. I'll keep you posted as good as I possibly can. All right. I will see you guys at some point during the week. If you want to participate in the shows that we're going to be putting on in regards to Comic-Con, the link is pinned to the top of the chat. Just describe what you want to do, and I'll get together with you. Until then, have a good start to your week. Happy Monday if there is one.
See you guys.